You ever stop and think about those amazing, just easy friendships you had when you were a kid? What happened to them? Well, today we're going to explore a totally different and honestly a much more powerful kind of relationship. We're diving deep into the story from chapter 6 of The Cure, and we'll be looking at this universal longing for connection through its unique spiritual lens.
So let's start by tapping into a feeling that I think we all know really well, that memory of pure, uncomplicated childhood friendship. Building forts in the backyard, riding bikes till the streetlights came on, just talking for hours about everything and nothing.
There was this incredible safety to it, wasn't there? You just didn't have to earn the love or prove you were loyal. It was just a given, part of the deal. It was this little world where you were completely known and completely accepted. No games, no pretending.
But then, well, life happens. We grow up. And for so many of us, that sense of just effortless connection, it just kind of vanishes. So the really big question is, what happened? Why do our adult relationships so often feel guarded and strained and honestly, a little lonely?
Yeah, as we got older, things like competition, getting hurt, and just the sheer messiness of life taught us to put up walls. We learned how to guard our hearts, to manage our own image, and to deal with our problems all by ourselves. And we ended up in this really weird place, surrounded by people, but feeling totally and completely on our own. So this feeling of being alone really sets the stage for this fascinating conversation in the story that gets right to the heart of the problem. See, the main character is 6 months into this new kind of community, but he's really confused by his closest friendship there.
Can you relate to that? I mean, really. He knows his friend sees all his junk, all his flaws, but instead of calling him out, trying to fix him, his friend just doesn't. And this kind of grace is so foreign to him that it's actually making him anxious. He's just waiting for the other shoe to drop, for that judgment that never actually comes.
And this is his friend's amazing response. It's a question that just completely flips the script on how we think we're supposed to help each other, right? It just shatters this idea that the path to getting better is through constant correction and basically performance reviews from our friends.
And that one question leads us to the great revelation of the story, this huge, profound shift in perspective that totally redefines what friendship is even for. You're going to want to hear this.
Just let that sink in for a second. What if the goal isn't to be perfect, but to be connected? What if safety wasn't about being flawless, but about being fully known? This is the big idea. The real power of a relationship isn't in its ability to fix you, but in its power to create a space where you don't have to hide anymore. This really creates two completely different kinds of friends. On one side, you've got the fixers. They see you as a problem to be solved, a project. They measure you by how little you mess up. And what's the result? We hide from them, we resent them. But then you have the protectors. They see you as a saint who still stumbles. They're more interested in how you're doing with love. They stand with you, creating the safety that's absolutely essential for real trust and real healing.
So, it all comes down to the goal, right? The fixing approach is all about controlling behavior from the outside, but the not hiding approach, that's about creating safety from the inside. It recognizes that real change, real healing, it only happens when we can bring our issues into the light without being afraid. Okay, so this whole shift from fixing to safety, it's powered by one single idea that, honestly, many of us get completely backward. It's a counterintuitive truth about how we actually grow.
Think about it. We're so often told that being mature means we have to love more, give more, do more. But the argument here is that the real foundation, the actual starting point for everything else, is learning how to truly receive love from God and from the people around us.
And to receive love, we've got to know what it actually is. It's not some sentimental, fuzzy feeling. Real love, biblical love, is the actual process of meeting needs. And that, right there, is why wearing masks is so incredibly destructive. A mask basically screams, "I'm fine, I don't need anything." And if you have no needs, well, you make it impossible for anyone to actually love you.
So this kind of lays out the whole journey from hiding to connection. It starts with just being vulnerable enough to admit, hey, I have needs. But the really crucial step is choosing to let other people in, to receive love on their terms, not yours. And it's only when we get filled up through that process that we are truly able, from a place of being full, to love others well.
And all of this brings us right back to where we started. This new way of thinking doesn't just give us a cool theory, it shows us the actual path back to that deep connection we've been longing for, back to that fort in the alley.
Now, the point isn't to become kids again. It's about taking the best parts of that childhood friendship, the trust, the safety, the realness, and bringing them into our adult lives. It's about progressing to a mature, resilient, and honestly, an even more beautiful version of the connection we were made for.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What would change in your life, right now, if you had a friendship like that? A relationship where the goal wasn't to fix you, but just to know you. A place where you felt so safe, so trusted, that absolutely nothing had to be hidden. Just imagine that.